Hello, Camp Augusta people. I hope you're all having an absolutely fantastic training session. This is going to be an amazing summer for you, and I'm so jealous. But out in the real world, after my 2 summers at camp, I have to say that the thing that really made an impact on me were the communication skills that you will be taught and you will refine over the summer. It'll help you better appreciate where other people are coming from and to see people for their strivings in any situation, whether it's at work or personally. But it'll also help you turn around the lens and look at yourself and better appreciate where you're coming from, which is something that is far too often ignored. Camp will help you dispel a lot of the stories that you tell about yourself, the things that you can't do or the things that you shouldn't do, and just it'll open a lot of doors to yourself by allowing yourself to be positive but critical about where you're coming from. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be where I am now, and camp is fantastic. Besides that, there are lots of other little bit things about camp that will sneak up on you and in completely unpredictable ways, and fire spinning is a skill that will save you for a lifetime, and so is hitting people with foam swords, so give that a go too. Have a good summer.
The fire show that I did at the school that I've been working at for the last several months, I took Poi over there and taught a few students how to spin, and then we did a fire show right before I left. Fortunately, we had technical difficulties, so imagine some teenagers spinning fire right behind me. Teaching them how to spin fire has been really great for a few reasons. One, it's a lot of fun to spin, obviously, if you're spinning it with fire or not. But beyond that, it created a connection between me and them, and these are for troubled teens, for youth that have gotten in a lot of trouble in the past, and now are at this alternative boarding high school. Also, you got them moving around. A lot of them weren't really motivated about anything that was going on at the ranch, and so it's a ranch/school, so going on there. So getting them moving around got them excited about other things as well. Really quickly, clean communication is probably one of the concepts that I believe in the most, that we preach and try to live by here at camp. And I introduced that concept at the ranch, both by applying clean communication when I had something on my mind that I wanted to address with another staff, and then by bringing it up at a meeting and talking about it with other staff. That had a great impact.
Hey, it's Jim here. I thought after camp, after doing 1 summer, I would head back to London and get a corporate job and work in an office. I find myself several years later now training to be a teacher, thinking I'll always work around young people. I sometimes struggle, I think, with acting authentically around others still, but I think camp has given me an increased awareness of being present around other people, being in my heart, I think, and not in my head. And I do to this day think about empathy and MVC in my conversations daily. I think I've become a little bit more introverted, but I don't see that as a weakness. I'm at peace, or more at peace, with pursuing what I want to do rather than following the crowd. It's really difficult, I'm finding anyway, working in a mainstream school with kids, going back to punishment and reward, and doing a lot of boring stuff when I have seen the development of kids be so much fun and so exciting. Also in schools at the moment, or the school that I'm working in, I see such a need for knowledge management and OWL and the other things we learn at camp which aren't directly around young people. Right now, where I'm going in life, it's not concrete, I'm not sure, but I think it will always involve trying to offer young people a glimpse of what Camp Augusta is. Not so much the activities, but the inspiration, the community, living without punishment and reward, teamwork, and living with a greater emotional intelligence than we normally surround ourselves.
Buenos dias, Camp Augusta. I have a question for you. How do you break the ice in a community where nobody speaks your language and most people look at you like you are an alien from another planet? Scream for distance, screaming toes work wonderfully in the indigenous community where I'm working in rural hills of Guatemala, where most people don't speak English or Spanish. And so these are skills that I learned at Camp Augusta over 4 years of my time there, and I'm recommending to you during your staff training to pay very close attention to the communication skills that you're going to learn. These have worked wonderfully for me over my time here in Guatemala and have helped me relate to a culture that really I don't understand, where I am an outsider and very different. But some of the basic communication skills that we learn at Camp Augusta can be used anywhere in the world. They're about compassion and understanding and being able to clearly communicate what you're thinking and feeling. So please pay attention and remember to scream.
How's it going? I'm Brian. Now it's true, there are a lot of lessons I learned from Camp Augusta, but one of my most favorite ones is how I learned to be weird. To be comfortable acting in a different way, to be comfortable dressing in a different way, to be comfortable doing weird things. Along with that, it's made me more comfortable to pursue my interests and to learn new skills, to find, to discover, to knit this hat, and do cool cartwheels and flips. It's a motivator. It motivates me to continue learning, to continue growing, to continue developing my skills as a person in order to share them with the larger community, whether that be through camp or through wherever I'm at. If I'm ever feeling unsure of myself or unsure about what to do in the future, what to do with my actions, what would camp do? Stay funky, Camp Augusta.
Hello, my name is Chad Nicholson. I was first in Augustan in 2006 and did 3 full summers. Over the past couple of years, I've continued to do some work for camp in the off-season, do the work that I've been doing for the past couple of years, which is as an organizer for the Community Environmental Legal Defense Fund. We're a nonprofit law firm set up in 1995 to provide free legal services to communities facing environmental threats to their health, safety, and welfare. But at root, it's really about creating safe spaces where processes can arise for people to voluntarily come together to figure out how they want to order their lives and how they want to live together. And I think there's a lot of parallels between that and a lot of things happening at camp. To take success counseling, for example, it's not about imposing something. It's more about creating a space, creating a process where things can arise from within so folks can better get their needs met. Or consensus decision-making, where it's about involving more people into the decision-making processes so more people have a say over the things that directly affect them. I think there's a lot of crossover and parallels between the work I'm doing now and a lot of things happening at camp.
Knowledge I've gained at camp has influenced every facet of my life. I feel like almost a lens came down, and during staff training it was a theoretical lens. Session 1 came and it was real. A lot more challenging than theory, but a lot more useful. My speech and my actions are filtered through this lens of nonviolent communication and really working towards investigating and being very aware of my intention and the intention of my speech and my actions, the impact of both, as well as room to listen and room to change. So yeah, that's the intangible side. Communication, community, it's an ever-present part of my life after camp. Very tangibly, I have spent since postseason last year working at a circus art center in the Bay Area, and an environment that supports experiential education, alternative methods of teaching, and active listening with children, which I think is can be very rare. I could talk forever about this, so give me a call.
Many things that I took from Augusta, obviously the friends, the memories, the hunger to just play, be outdoors and have adventures. But what really stands Augusta out, the extra tools that I learned, things like nonviolent communication, empathy, and behavior guidance. Nonviolent communication and empathy really helped me connect with my family, friends, or colleagues. And although it's not always easy to remember to use the tools, the awareness of them definitely helps. And I'd worked in a school before Camp Augusta, and I've just come back from teaching in Korea. And behavior guidance really helped me in Korea, and really went a long way to my success there. And I'm sure it'll really go a long way when I work with kids in the future.
So, yes, for those of you who don't know me, this is the giant two-dimensional head version of me that comes on a webcam. And the real me comes in the mail during session 3, and that'll be a 3D version, and you'll probably like me. Maybe. Well, I guess. Anyway, we have to talk about Augustans Without Borders, and one of the key ways that I've taken Augusta stuff outside of Augusta is through my experience as a graduate teaching assistant at the University of Manchester here in England. Now, one of the ways that they told me to gain control of my classroom, and they as professors and other tutors and pretty much everyone who's ever taught a class at the University of Manchester, was to actively and routinely punish everyone in the class until they just paid attention and respected me. And if that didn't work, I should pick out people, parade them in front of the class, and humiliate them as best I could until everyone else got the idea and the person I humiliated stopped coming to my classes. Suffice it to say, wasn't exactly crazy about that situation. So I took some pages from the staff manual, including the level 1s, level 2s, some of the clean communication stuff, and forwarded it to my professors and my other teaching assistants in order to open up a dialogue about how we could perhaps continue to teach really dense philosophical and literary-based examinations while not actively humiliating and ruining everybody's time in the classroom. Since then, we've made several changes and even adapted a brand new graduate teaching assistant handbook in order to forward ideas about building mutual respect between the two parties in the classroom, how to foster discussions that don't rely on punishment and shame, and generally how to make our classrooms more Augustan. Now, besides the philosophy, I've also taken a couple lessons from Augusta that are really important for keeping what's left of my sanity here in the real world. Chief among those is the ability to multitask. And at Augusta, a lot of times we're asked to do 50 different things and do them all in an hour and then show up for dinner and then after dinner go to an evening program and then maybe squeeze in some sleep after we've done our wood cookies and parent letters. That demanding schedule lets me come back out to the real world and realize that on days when I'm feeling a little overwhelmed because I have to prepare a conference paper while editing a publication and also getting ready for several international conferences that I have coming up, it's really doesn't compare to the amount of strain that we're put under during Augusta. And so that kind of comparison really helps me to balance out my life here.
I definitely have altered my perspective on my own life, and my life has become a lot more focused on living and experiencing all the amazing things that there are to do in this huge world of ours, rather than just trying to get stuff done all the time. Always hurrying off to do the next thing that you're supposed to do. There's no supposed to about it. I think I also feel a lot calmer in general now. I feel like I understand people better and how they work in this world, and myself included. I never feel like I get angry at people or that I can't, put every action or behavior into perspective a little bit and find some empathy there and probably some humor too, a little bit.
Camp Augusta. How has Camp Augusta affected my life? Tremendously. There's so many places where camp spreads out into my life. I'd say one of the biggest ones would be that I create my own reality, that I have all these stories and ideas and thoughts in my head, and that those actually create my experience. And so I have the power to rewire those stories and those principles and beliefs in my life to then create the life that I want to live. That has spread through my life in an empowering way. A big thing for me, I'd say an example of that is I had an eating disorder for about 15 years, and it is through my time here at Camp Augusta that, in learning these ideas about, word creates self, what I think, all my perceptions creates my reality, got me thinking about my eating disorder and how maybe I wasn't a victim, and maybe there was actually something deeper, some storylines in my head. And what I found was I had a lot of hatred, self-hatred towards myself. I hate myself, I'm too fat, I'm ugly, I'm not pretty enough. All these things that led to this self-sabotaging behavior of eating disorder, more specifically bulimia. So I was able to transform those thoughts, to recognize them, see what they were, and shift them into a life of possibility and connection, joy, community, love, creativity, passion. And I carry this into my life, every moment of my life, with every person that I come in contact with. Camp has fostered within me a greater sense of community, how to connect with community, that if I ever need anything, I just ask. And if anybody else needs anything, they just ask, and it is a gift for me to give this strong sense of community. And I find that this is now a part of me, this is now part of my life, is this greater connection to my friends and to my family and to humanity and to this global village, a greater awareness and love of all humans, all humankind, a patience for all people. So good old Camp Augusta in these little woods, bringing it out into all the areas of my life. It has touched me very much.
Wow, where to start? 2 minutes definitely isn't enough, so I'll probably go over. Sorry about that. I have used so much of the stuff that I learned at Camp Augusta in the 5 years I was there. So much, both in just my general life, in my life choices, but also in the actual work that I'm doing on a more practical level. Starting with practical stuff then. In the job I'm in at the moment, I work for a charity that runs a summer program for 16-year-olds that aims to get them interested and engaged and involved in their local communities, and to equip them with the skills and confidence to be part of their local communities and be part of shaping their communities. On a practical level, the stuff that I've passed on here, on helping to design staff training, there's loads of stuff that we've been looking at in terms of behaviour management, in terms of non-violent communication. We touched on non-violent communication a tiny bit when we were working at when we did a course on working with difficult teenagers and challenging behaviour, and it was literally about a 30-second slot that existed of non-violent communication, and loads of our staff hadn't ever heard of it before. So I looked at on the Camp Augusta shared drive, got a load of stuff off the staff manual and sent that round to everybody so they could have some idea of the stuff that was on kind of recognising feelings and needs was really useful for me, and I hope that they found it useful as well. Loads of team building games that I've used in training, and we've had a few kind of weekend staff recruitment drives, and we've done loads of team building games and things like that there, which I've brought along to that. General icebreaker games, that type of thing. In terms of ideas for evening sessions, we've been trying to design evening sessions for our young people over this summer that will help them to reflect on the skills that they have been learning throughout the summer, and understand how they can then put that towards working in their communities and becoming involved in their communities. And so I've been helping the curriculums guy in London to design some of those evening sessions, looking at all the ideas of evening embers from Camp Augusta. I literally went through the whole list of all evening embers that we have ever done, and took out ones that would be most suitable for 16-year-olds. So that was very useful. Thanks everybody for those. The biggest thing, I think, going on more of a personal level, and the stuff that I've taken from camp has been helping me, has has kind of been the general way in which it's shaped my values and shaped what I then want to get out of life. And when I first came to camp, I was very much planning on staying in chemistry, get a job, and work in the city, make lots of money, and all that stuff. Camp challenged that, not only camp itself, but also the people who I met at camp, and the conversations we had, and the values that everybody held. And I think camp was a real eye-opener for me to show that it is possible to live and work the values that you believe in. We had a training session a few weeks ago here, and we were asked if we'd ever worked for a company or an organisation which had really held true to its values and its mission statement. And out of 30 people in the room, I was the only one who said yes, because I really felt that at camp we do hold our values, and I think it's really important. It's a lesson that I've taken forward, and I try to encourage my colleagues to do so. Is that the idea of being the values that you are trying to work within. So not just having values and sticking to them, but actually understanding and incorporating them into your daily life, and really encompassing them in everything that you do. Massive thing that I've taken from camp in both my life but also in my work is the feeling of community and the ideas around what makes a strong community. That's essentially what I'm doing at the moment, is trying to understand and help young people understand how to strengthen their communities. And I don't think there's been a stronger community that I've been in than Camp Augusta. It was such a feeling of belonging, feeling of being at home. I still feel like my second home is camp. My first home is camp. I know I'll always feel at home there. And it was trying to communicate that feeling and what creates that has been really useful for me in thinking about the way that we work here, and the way that people understand the place that they live in, and the way that they interact with the area in which they live in, and the people that they live with, and the communication that is required for that. So that's been a massive help. What else? Gosh, there's too much. Clean communication. It's very interesting to come into an office environment where people haven't had any training in clean communication, and I constantly find myself saying to my colleagues, well, do they know that? Or if when they're bitching about something, well, have you spoken to it about them? I think trying to infiltrate that into as many organisations as possible really helps to ensure that they are running honestly and everybody is getting on well. Everybody can be open and honest, and it feels like we're doing working a lot better as a team when everybody is being so open and honest. So I've definitely been taking that forward and tried to encourage colleagues to do so as well. So that's a smaller snippet of stuff that I am carrying forward, but I don't have any doubt that you will continue to use it throughout your whole life and hopefully pass it on to as many people as possible.
Oh, it's Camp Augusta. Whew. Wow, where'd you guys come from? No, don't answer that. Takes way too long. Anyhow, Jimmy James here. I worked out at camp for 3 summers, and in 2007 was introduced to fire spinning there. It has since been a huge part of my life, and I now spend my days building fire props. I spend my nights performing with them. And it's safe to say that camp has turned me into a bit of a circus freak. I wanted to thank you guys, thank camp. Have an awesome summer, all of you, and I will see you at the end of August.
Hi, it's Alice. At Camp Augusta, I learned not to shit on myself.